You are welcome here. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hi. So, guess what? Guess what? Who has a guess as to what's going on this morning? Techie. I'm hearing something saying teching. Yeah, we're starting. Linda, you get a prize. You go get yourself a free book after the service, okay? Yeah, we're having a few technical difficulties. We're having a little bit of trouble with our internet connection, and I think that screen may not be working quite as well, so the PowerPoint may not work, and therefore I have nothing to say. So, but we do have a wonderful singer. And her daughter. Yay, Carla. Yeah. So anyway, we're trying our best, and because things are falling into interesting patterns, it must be church, it must be Spirit making a joke on us, and we're just going to go with it with grace and laughter and joy, because that's how we roll here in the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living, our cathedral of kindness. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to your internet people who aren't on, but we love you anyway, okay? And I'm going to pass it to Lonnie.
Well, church is Plan B today, and I was thinking maybe spiritual charades. There's all kinds of possibilities, you know? Let's see. We could have audience participation. Chris could tinkle longer. See, we're just a church of possibilities. So thank you for joining us, and I don't know, it's going to be a lot of fun. Who knows what's going to happen?
Okay. All right, y'all. So now we're going to hear from Bill.
Good morning. As Bonnie said, I'm Bill Hadris with Youth and Family. You know, as children, everything is a wonder. Yeah. The sound of a train whistle in the distance, a plane in the sky, you know, talking and seeing someone at the same time on the other side of the world. You can see a hamster in the video too, on the other side of the world. Rainbows, all kinds of things. Everything seems miraculous. But as we grow and live every day, that sense of wonderment sometimes gets lost. Too many of us sleepwalk through our lives, focusing on trivial matters. They got to go first. My green beans touched my mashed potatoes. Someone put the wrong cap on this marker. They are singing out of tune. My goodness, someone took my car spot. Or parking spot, sorry. Got it. Well, my way is the right way. Well, wake up. What amazing things, wonders of our existence are happening all around us. The sun rose this morning, and you were alive to enjoy it. Those green plants out there are making oxygen that we breathe, and for the chipmunks, yeah. We can measure the gravitational waves created by distant stars colliding. Those stars are making the matter that is making us. So do you see the magic in what you can do? What deadens your awareness? Chipmunks, rainbows. Bunnies. What heightens your awareness? Bunny. No one does or sees exactly like you do. You are unique, and your uniqueness makes you valuable. You are amazing. I invite you all to repeat after me. I am the light of the world.
I am the light of the world.
And so it is. Thank you.
And we silently give thanks for Gail's beautiful words that brought us to that inner spaciousness. And let us remain there for just a few moments as we relax and let go and become present to this sacred moment as we open our ears to hear the words of our sacred reading.
An excerpt from The Whole Language by Gregory Boyle. A few years ago, I buried my 92-year-old mother. She died as we would all want to, in her own bed, in her own home, surrounded off and on by her 8 kids and many grandchildren. I had buried my father some 22 years earlier, but my mom was sharp till the last moment and not a lick afraid of dying. Some 3 weeks before she died, she said to me, giddy and exhilarated, "I've never done this before." It was something you'd say before skydiving. In fact, the day before she died, I was alone with her, the rarest of things, and she was asleep. When she opened her eyes and she saw me there, she scowled. "Oh, for crying out loud." And she closed her eyes. She was pissed that she wasn't dead yet. Sorry. But the next day, my sister and exactly knew. She opened her eyes, lifted her head some, let out a glorious, wonderful gasp, skydiving, and she left us. And no one in earshot of the sound would ever fear death again. During those last weeks, 1 or 2 or 6 of her kids would be keeping vigil around her bed, and she'd be in and out of consciousness. When she came to, she'd lock onto one of us and say with breathless delight, "You're here, you're here." After we buried her, I recalled this and grew convinced that this may well be the singular agenda item for our God. To look at us with breathless delight and say, "You're here, you're here." We have this image of Jesus spending 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, the precursor of our 40 days of Lent. It supplies us with Polaroids like the dark night of the soul, a grumbling stomach, wild wilderness animals, plague of self-doubt, anguish, torment. Jesus wondering if he should have given up both scotch and chocolate for me. Yet I suspect it was all mainly God saying tenderly, "You're here." And Jesus not really knowing what to say in response, but "You're here." God meets our intensity of longing with intensity of longing. Turns out the tender one whom we long for longs for us. Maybe the desert is really a time to notice the notice of God. We hear and receive the tender glance of God, and like Jesus, we acquiesce to the tenderness. The mysticism of Jesus that succumbs to this tenderness is anchored in love. This is the fundamental architecture of his heart. Above all, this mysticism is available to us. We realize that heaven was not a goal for Jesus, but loving was. We come to see that to follow Jesus is to change our understanding of God. Then we leave the wilderness, ready to extend this tender, loving glance in the world. The goal of our extraordinarily humble God is less union with God, but union among us. which is, of course, union with God. Then we can rest in the stillness of love and go forward to love in the stillness of God. Then we are the river winding its way to the sea. Union, God, and neighbor. We're all just trying to get to the sea.
And so breathing in and breathing out in this beautiful sea of love that we co-create here together through our shared intention, through our energy. Let us remember the I Am presence, the place and the space, the spaciousness of the divine as it lives and moves and has its perfect being through us. As it says to us, you're here, and we say back to it, you're here. And truly, there's only one of us. There is no back and forth. There is only here. There is only now. And so in the simple words, I am remembering who I am, we remember all of that. We embody all of that, knowing that I am is a word for the divine. We rest in the divine as we sing, I am remembering. But we also know the divine in all of creation, in all of the people, in all of the animal kingdom, in all of the plants, in everything, the rocks, the trees, the sunset, the showers, the cosmos, the stars, the galaxies, and beyond. I am remembering who I am. We sing it together with great reverence and love for our beautiful, beautiful existence. And here we go. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. In love and remembrance, in knowing of the divine presence that is always with us. Let us breathe in deeply, and then exhale, opening our eyes as love, looking through the eyes of love, in love and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is. Namaste.
I have my daughter here with me today. This is Eva Leona Bataya Man. The book of love is long and boring. No one can lift the damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything. The book of love has music in it. In fact, that's where music comes from. Some of it's just transcendental, and some of it's just. just really dumb. And I love it when you sing to me, and you can sing me anything. The book of love is long and boring, and written so very long ago. It's full of flowers and heart-shaped boxes, and things we're all too young to know. But I love it when you give me things, and you give me everything, and I love it when you give me things, and you give me everything. You give me everything. You give me everything.
Thanks, you two. So beautiful. Thank you. We got an extra bonus here with Ava here, right? Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, la 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 la. I hear that our tech people tell us that we are back online and that the slides are working. So let's hear it for our tech crew. Yes. Chris, I apologize for this picture. I know that you don't necessarily like to be on display, but it was too cute. I couldn't control myself. So this is Chris and Jonna, one of our congregants, and Jonna's dog, Jilly. This is in a class where Jilly went and sat on Chris and would not get off of him. She loved him so much. My dogs are the same way with him, and my dogs are like 50 pounds heavier than little Jilly there, so that's the story. So we're talking today about a gentle gaze, cultivating a gentle gaze. And it reminded me, this idea from the reading about God looks at us so tenderly and gently. It reminded me of when I was a kid. I grew up in a family that was raised in very open-minded Christianity. And how many of you, before you went to bed at night, had to say prayers? Your mom or dad made you say prayers, right? And, sometimes 4 little girls trying to get them to get to bed on the same time. And sometimes my mother was just distraught and beside herself. She'd be, ladies, get up there, and I want to hear Jesus tender coming out of your room. So then we'd be up there like, Jesus tender shepherd. Shut up, Carol, hear me. But we did learn about tenderness in an early age, right? And then the reading, of course, presents that situation in the Christian Bible where Jesus, the Christ, goes into the wilderness for 40 days to contemplate and to greet the devil and to, I would say, confront all of his temptations, all of the human temptations, since we think of Christ as a universal presence. And yet Gregory Boyle says that really God was just excited that Jesus was there. He's saying, you're here. And Jesus' only response is, wait, you're here. And what a beautiful reciprocity that is. What a beautiful reciprocity to know that we are one with God and God is one with us. And this is an ongoing cycle in our lives all of the time. That God, as we reach for God, God reaches for us. And it's not really a reach because God is presence, but we don't really have any better words for it. It reminds me of, I think, some sort of traditional language from this denomination. The miracle that you are seeking is seeking you. The miracle that you are seeking is seeking you. And also from Esther Hicks, she says, Well-being is tracking you. Well-being is trying to find you. Well-being is trying to find all of us all of the time. The tender one whom we long for longs for us. Whether it's love or grace or gentleness or well-being, the tender one whom we long for longs for us. How does that feel? To know that the thing that you're longing for is also longing for you, is seeking expression through each of us. I guess the question is, will we let it in? Because we are one with the divine, it is right and natural to gaze upon ourselves and all beings everywhere with gently and tenderly. It is right and natural to gaze upon ourselves and all beings gently and tenderly. Are you doing it? Are you gazing upon yourself gently and tenderly? Sometimes. Sometimes. I hadn't planned to go here, but it just occurred to me. I remember speaking with somebody once about losing weight. This person really wanted to lose weight. And she said that when she stepped on the scale in the morning, the numbers that she saw could ruin her day. I'm like, wow, those numbers have a lot of power, don't they? And there are so many things like that in our lives, things that we allow to stand in the way of our expression of tenderness, to stand in the way of our expression of gentleness. But what if we could be gentle and tender with ourselves and one another all the time? Question is, do we gaze gently? And also this means, do we speak to ourselves gently? I have a picture of the Indian flag up there because in the past, well, it'll be 2 weeks now. In the past 2 weeks, I've been on the phone to India, I don't know how many times. I know that I will have had 13 Zoom calls in 14 days, and many of them have been to India in the wee hours of the morning because they are 12 and a half hours ahead of us. And I've been speaking at these circles that they have where they used a passage from my book, Dances with Dogs, for a sacred reading, and they were excited about having the author of the passage come and speak to them. Now, one of the rumors I've heard about people in Southeast Asia is that they don't struggle with low self-esteem. Many of us have heard the story of the Dalai Lama, where the Dalai Lama was asked a question about low self-esteem or self-criticism, and the Dalai Lama said, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that term. Maybe he wasn't, but I was really surprised to find that the concept of shame or low self-esteem or self-criticism is also a factor in India as well. Shame, self-criticism, seems to be global. From my experience with many people from many different countries, it does seem to be a global thing, something that we do to ourselves. Shame and self-criticism is global. I went to Barbie the other day. I see my slides are a little off there, but I went to see Barbie the other day, the movie, and one of the lines in the movie was that they were going to create a shame-infused existential angst Barbie. Because, they had veterinarian Barbie and Supreme Court Justice Barbie and, Dr. Barbie. But on one of the darker days, they wanted to do shame-infused existential angst Barbie, who is asking, do I exist? Does life have meaning? Do these qualities of self-criticism or shame, perhaps even existential angst, do they seem familiar? There are other ones too, such as worry, self-criticism. I said that one already. Guilt, fear, self-doubt. Do they seem familiar? And do they seem gentle? In other words, if you are experiencing these qualities on a regular basis, perhaps you are gazing upon yourself through a harsh lens. So can we learn to be gentle with ourselves and others? Because if we're gentle with ourselves, we'll be gentle with others. Can we soften our gaze? And can we gaze upon life like it's the holiest thing on earth? Because it is. Can we gaze upon ourselves like we are the holiest things on earth? Because we are. Can we gaze upon our beautiful bodies, our beautiful minds, our beautiful talents, our beautiful gifts, our beautiful resources like they are the holiest things on earth? Because they are. Can we gaze at the person sitting next to us like he or she is the holiest person on earth? Because they are. Turn to somebody sitting near you and say, you are the holiest thing on earth. You are the holiest thing on earth. Did everybody get affirmed by somebody? If you didn't, come see me after class, okay? I'll affirm you. I'll tell you you're the holiest thing on earth because you are. Because you are, right? So one of the ways of cultivating a gentle gaze or a gentle voice or a gentle pattern in your life is to notice, how do I speak to myself? How do you speak to yourself? Harshness. Are you harsh with yourself? Are you constantly engaging in worry or fear or criticism? It seems so natural, doesn't it? It seems so real when we're being self-critical. It seems kind of right somehow, like we're telling the truth about ourselves when we're engaging in worry, fear, and criticism. We'll address that in just a minute. But just notice how frequently we engage in worry, fear, or criticism. Not only of ourselves, but of the world around us. You know, it seems like there is a lot to criticize right now, doesn't it? A lot to be fearful of right now. So how often are we going to that place? And it's not wrong to do it, but it's just good to notice how often we're going there. Comparison. One of the things I learned from one of the people I spoke with in India was this idea of comparison. People in India compare themselves to others too. Amazing. Even very spiritual people in India compare themselves to others. One of the most fun things to do in a class, and I hope to do it sometime in one of my classes, but I keep forgetting. I do it with my people that I'm acquainted to, like Hugh. I ask, have you ever tried to show off spiritually? Like tried to show off how spiritual you are? I know I have. Like you try and pray better than the person who prayed just before you. Oh, it's not pretty, it's embarrassing, but it's the truth. And I won't tell you what Hugh said, but you can ask him afterwards. If he's willing to tell you, he will. Do you remember? Vaguely, okay. Well, and I've told you the story before about the bowing monks, where the monk tried to outbow all the other monks. You know, they get on the ground and they tap their head to the ground, and he like just about gave himself a brain concussion because he was trying to bow so much harder than the other monks. He was young, he was new at it. But anyway, we compare ourselves to others constantly, even if we're spiritual. And the other thing is that we compare ourselves to a should, a giant gaping hole of a should, who we think we should be. How did we learn who we should be, Peter? He was just looking at me and laughing. That's why I singled him out. How did we discern who we should be? Probably somebody told us. Somebody who didn't know us very well told us who we should be. And then we tried to match that. We formed a pattern in our brain of who we should be, and then we looked in the world through that pattern and looked at all the ways that we are not measuring up to who we should be, right? Another thing that we do is that we speak in the language of limitations. We are limited by what we call race consciousness in this denomination. Race consciousness is the thinking of the human race, right? So at one point, you know, we didn't think, say, a woman could fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and then Amelia Earhart broke that barrier. At one time, we thought this thing was impossible, or that thing was impossible. At one time, we thought the idea that you could sit in your room and contact somebody by typing on a computer, somebody across the globe. I mean, do you guys remember when the internet started? The interweb, right? The World Wide Web. I remember that. I was shocked. The first time I ordered a book online, like on a Kindle, and all of a sudden I had a book. I'm like, wait, where did that come from? It was shocking. So we speak in the language of limitations, of impossible. We speak in the language of the past, of what we used to be. We also speak in the language of should, right? That's a limitation as well. We speak in the language of known possibilities, when really, when we're just riveted to known possibilities, we're missing a possible spiritual solution that is beyond the realm of our current scope of knowing. So those are some of the ways that we speak harshly to ourselves, that we move away from gentleness on the continuum closer toward harshness. But the next thing to just consider is that why are these thoughts so tenacious? You know, when I was talking about before about getting on the scale and having the numbers ruin your day, right? If they weren't the numbers you wanted to see, or many other things, the thoughts that we have, the worries that we have, even if they seem like really legitimate worries, you know, we should be worried about this. We should be worried about this. It is protecting us somehow. And that's part of the reason that these thoughts are tenacious. You know, it's part of our brain to look out for threats, to look out for things that might hurt us or kill us. My nephew, who is somewhat of a brain scientist, put a post on Instagram and he said, every minute of every day, your nervous system is asking, is this going to kill me? And maybe not even kill me, but is this going to hurt me? Our brain is always looking for threats, and that's just part of our survival mechanism. But are we more than our brains? Are we more than our brains? Some people think that consciousness comes from brain. Others of us believe that brain is a product of consciousness, that consciousness creates everything. These thoughts are also tenacious because we just have a partial view. If you can see the slides, two people are looking at, it's either a 9 or a 6, but it depends on what it is from your perspective. We can only see what we think we know. And we so often make what we think we know into an absolute truth. If we're looking at a 6 this way, it's a 6. But if we're looking at a 9, the number facing this way, it's a 9. And that's how we are with much of the world. And we are very much fed with a language of saying that the world is a disaster, the world is in crisis, the world is a scary place, people are mean, this group is this group is that, this other group is horrible. We're constantly fed with that information. I don't know what browser you use, like when you log onto your internet. I'm thinking of switching mine because everything that comes up on it has like a news feed on it. Everything that comes up on it is bad news. It's all bad news. And it's also all news that is designed for clickbait, to get you riled up, to get you polarized, to get you worked up into a frenzy about something that may just require a little bit of grace and spaciousness. And mine is particularly annoying because I don't tend to polarize. I refer to myself as politically non-binary, and and so they don't know what to give me. They give me stuff on both sides, and it's all the same thing. It's all just with different disguises on it. It all to me appears. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but to me it all appears to be trying to generate fear and anxiety and getting ourselves disturbed and distressed and enraged so that we quote unquote do something. But maybe the doing something is something else. Maybe the doing something is to step back and breathe and allow the thought of God to infuse us and to create an infinite solution, an infinite picture that is beyond what the limits of the opposites can contain. That's just my opinion. The other reason that our thoughts are tenacious is that we tend to repeat the thoughts that we don't want to have. Again, because these thoughts feel like they're protecting us. And so we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat, and that changes our perception. And when we change our perception of reality becomes reality. We see what we believe. We have a thought, and then we gather evidence to support that thought. It helps us feel secure to do that. It helps us feel like maybe there's a chance for us in this land of impermanence and uncertainty. And there are alternatives. But first, more about our thoughts. I thought it was going to be a different slide. Okay. So the other thing about our thoughts is that they evoke feelings. And you know what feelings do? They bind us. In a good way, right? If we all cry together, we're bound in a good way. We have this simpatico going on. We're bound together in tears. Or if we laugh together, you know, a group that laughs together like us, right? We laugh and cry together. How beautiful that is. It becomes a form of community and connection. But feelings, particularly negative feelings that cause a lot of adrenaline, bind us to this perception of reality. And then a thought plus a feeling equals a belief. And this is kind of back to what I said before. It is done unto us as we believe. Again, I say this almost every time, but Ernest Holmes had a big deal about the word as, meaning that there is an immediate effect. As we believe something, it becomes true for us. And if we repeat it over and over and over again, it becomes even more true for us. As we believe, our thoughts create experience. The quality of our thoughts create the quality of our experience. This is on the side, that's an example of somebody who has nothing. It's supposed to be a Buddhist monk, but I don't think they wear shorts. But anyway, that was the brightest picture I could find. That Buddhist monk who probably has nothing is saying, I am abundance. I am abundance. And although he or she probably has no material things whatsoever, she is abundance because that is the quality of her thought through her connection with divine grace or whatever, you know, nirvana, inner nirvana. Whereas this is a picture of Scrooge who had a lot of money and he's saying, I am lack, because the quality of his thoughts were thoughts of lack. And so he experiences lack, which makes him cling to his reality. Okay. So when we look at our harshest thoughts, do they seem mandatory? Are these thoughts true just because they're protective, repetitive patterns? Are these thoughts true just because we're thinking them? There's such a tendency to think, just because I'm thinking it, it's true. But the most important question is, can we let it go? Can we let these thoughts go? And I believe we can. We can by cultivating a gentle gaze. So one way to cultivate a gentle gaze is to identify. We ask ourselves, what is the I that has these thoughts? It's not the I of the ego. It's not the I of the self-thought. It is the universal I, the I that we sing about. The I that we sing about when we are singing, I am remembering who I am. It is this thing that is beyond words, beyond description. We can't contain it. But the I is, the false self is having these thoughts, and the I am self is observing these thoughts. The unconditional I is that which observes the thoughts. It is awareness. It is our awareness of being aware. I think I did this last week, but I want to do it again. Let's have some thoughts, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions. You don't have to say them out loud. What did you have for breakfast this morning? What car did you drive here this morning? How hard or easy was it to find a parking space? And then let it go. Now you had 3 distinct thoughts that came and they went. Those are the thoughts that we're having, the harsh thoughts that we're having. They come and they go. But there was something within us that experienced all of those thoughts. That's the I that I'm talking about. That's the unconditional I. Some people call it the observer. Some people call it the experiencer. Rupert Spira calls it awareness or consciousness, or that which is aware of being aware. That is the true self, and that is the self to which we identify. The true self is beyond condition, so the true self can have all of those thoughts and remain unassailable and intact. The true self is peace and happiness. No matter what is happening up here or out there, or our reaction to what is happening out there in here, the true self is impervious. It is pure peace and pure happiness. And so we identify with that. Our whole life, that can be our practice. That's what Rupert Spira says. The true self is peace and happiness, and our life's work is to return to that garden of peace and happiness as much as we possibly can. Sure, we'll step out of it from time to time, but just to continue to draw ourselves back to identification with the true self, which is inner peace and inner happiness. Heard this Zen koan the other day when I was speaking to somebody in India. It says, "Show me your original face before you were born." It's a Zen koan. And the original face before we were born, the nothingness from where we came, the consciousness, the awareness from where we came, that is truly who we are. Just for fun, he also told me a cat koan. When a cat is standing in front of you, which side has the most fur? The outside. You don't get much deeper than that. So we cultivate awareness of our true nature. I am that which is aware. So if we're having a harsh thought, what if we were just to stop and pause and breathe and say, I am aware of that thought. I am not that thought. I am that which is aware of that thought. That produces an instant form of detachment, and the thought can be what it is, something that is floating out of our consciousness. Number 2 is to monitor our attention, to move from the unreal to the real. That's part of a Hindu peace prayer. Oh God, move me from the unreal to the real. We release attachment from objects. And by objects, I don't necessarily mean material things. Mystical teachers say that we are eternal subject, right? The I am presence is eternal subject, and everything else, our thoughts, our perspectives, our emotions, our material things, all of that are objects. They are objects. We are eternal subject, that which never changes. The objects are impermanent. They change. So we release our attachment from objects. We release our attachment from impermanent thoughts, which is a form of objective reality, object. We shift our attention to that which endures. Last week, when I was teaching the Sacred Imperfection class, I had the participants do an exercise. And I asked them to consider a quote from Our Town, which I'll read in a minute, and then to write a letter to life as if it were their last day. And the quote is, "Goodbye, Grover's Corners, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food and coffee and new iron dresses and hot baths and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you are too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life when they live it? Every minute." And Emily says this as she is leaving her life somewhat. It's a longer story than that, but she's leaving her life. And she says it to a character called the stage manager, which is God. And the stage manager's response to that, do human beings ever realize life while they live it, every minute? The stage manager says, not really. Well, the saints and the poets, maybe. They do some. And so it's my calling to all of us to live our lives as the saints and the poets, to realize life every single minute, to focus on what is important. When we did this in class, I recognized that there was an expansion of consciousness in the room. That people not only realized that they were grateful for what was happening in their life right now, but they were grateful for all of the conditions, generations back. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and then, and so on, that created their conditions to bring us together in this sacred circle by divine appointment. There is infinite good pressing on you right now. Remember when, before at the beginning of this talk, I was saying well-being is stalking you right now? Oh, not stalking, wrong word. Tracking you right now? Well, infinite good is tracking you right now. It's trying to find you. It's trying to find all of us. Infinite good is tracking us right now. But also, with infinite good comes intimate good. Narrow focus. Narrower focus. You notice that when Emily was saying goodbye, she wasn't saying goodbye to the world of physics or, the great philosophers. She was saying goodbye to sunflowers and coffee and sleeping and waking up, things that happen every single day that we just move through, that we walk sightless among these miracles. So narrowing our focus to be exactly where we are in this intimate thing that we call life, and remembering what matters. Remembering that we are both vast and tiny at the same time. What a paradox that is, and how beautiful and how miraculous that is, right? And that we are hidden in wholeness and gentleness. And again, wholeness and gentleness are seeking us constantly. Gentleness is not dead, it is only sleeping. That's a paraphrase from the Bible. Sorry, Jesus. Where is he at? Can't find Jesus. Oh, there he is. Okay. He's in the back row with Kuan Yin. Good place for him. Okay. So, anyway. So we focus on what matters most, and we reveal the omnipresent goodness that is trying to find us, and it will find us as we let it in. The other thing, it's great to have these ideas as theories, but to actually practice them, that's a beautiful thing. So I'm encouraging this week an enhanced gratitude practice. Now, of course, I remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about criticism and praise, and how if somebody criticizes us, we can always respond with praise. It's sort of a riff on bless those who curse you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be praise to the critic. Sometimes they don't want to hear it, right? So it's just if somebody criticizes you and us and we're feeling badly, we can go and praise somebody else. A sincere compliment or form of praise to somebody else. And soon we get caught up in that energy of praise, and then the criticism doesn't stick quite so much anymore. Same thing is true for this. Gratitude reveals the true self and what matters most. So we express our gratitude. Certainly if you keep a gratitude journal, if you end your day thinking about what you're grateful for, when you do a prayer before a meal, if you say what you're grateful for, that's beautiful. But another beautiful way to enhance that gratitude practice is to give gratitude away. And the way that I've discovered and how to do that recently is to multiply and magnify gratitude is by inviting others to express their gratitude. And it's really fun to do that with strangers. The two classes, I'm teaching one on Zoom and one in person, they challenged me. I challenged myself, and then they said they were going to hold me to it, sadly. Nextdoor View, that app, I know I talk about it a lot. I probably complain too much about the complainers on Nextdoor View, but man, there is a lot of action there, a lot of complaining action. Here's the Nextdoor View app, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Something about the coyotes. Okay, I didn't quite hear that, but yeah. Coyotes, firecrackers, politics, potholes. Oh my goodness. They do that in Santa Paula. I don't know if there's a lot of complaining about potholes in Ventura. I don't know if you all have potholes. I don't notice. I just don't notice. I just drive over stuff all the time. Look out, people. Anyway, I decided that I was going to put something on Nextdoor that was a little counterintuitive. I just decided I would post, what are you grateful for today? And then when I went to do it, I was terrified. But somebody in one of the other classes said that she did it and she got a great response, so I did it too. I did it yesterday. You know what I heard? Crickets. Who over there said crickets? Crickets. I got maybe 2 responses, 1-word responses, family, air conditioning. Now, had I been, what do you hate today? It probably would have blown up. But you know what? I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going on Instagram, and I'm going on Facebook and whatever else I'm on. I'm going to start asking people, what are you grateful for today? Because what's really fun, this is even more fun and more personal, is I went to the Barbie movie the other day. I went with somebody who chose to remain anonymous. I went with a bunch of people. I don't know if they all want to be anonymous, but I went with someone, let's call him Travis Brock. And sorry. And as we were buying candy, the thought crossed my mind, let's ask the cashier what she's grateful for today. So I did, and she became completely flustered, like kind of like the woman who was dying, like, I've never done this before. No one's ever asked me this before. And bless his heart, Brock just let her squirm, He just let her figure it out. And finally she said, well, I'm grateful for this job, but what are you two grateful for? And it turned into this whole conversation. And something opened. something cracked open. It was beautiful. And then my best one so far, because I'm going to make this a regular practice, my best one was when I went to get a cup of tea at Starbucks. I asked the barista, "What are you grateful for?" And without a moment of hesitation, she said, "I'm grateful for breathing." And I said, "Why? Why is that? Why is that?" And she said, "Because I need a lung replacement. And I'm not ready yet. I have to wait a few more years." And my response to that was, I wanted to give her my lung. I think I still need two, but it was just such a connection in such a casual and beautiful way. So here's your assignment, if you want to take it. Find a stranger and ask them, "What are you grateful for today?" It feels a little treacherous. It feels a little intimidating at first. I don't know why. It just does to me. Maybe it's because I'm kind of shy. But do it and see what happens. Even if the person laughs at you, even if the person rejects you, you never know what seed has been planted by that simple question. What are you grateful for today? We're running low on time, or I'd make you all do it right now, but maybe in the social hall afterwards, ask somebody what you're grateful for today. So just to review, to grow a gentle gaze, get in touch with your true nature, continue pulling back to that place that is awareness, that is aware of being aware, that is aware of all the myriad of thoughts and circumstances and experiences and perspectives that flow through your head. Move from that unreal to the real, which is your true nature. Focus on what matters most. All of the things that impacted this present moment in the past and the distant past, plus all of the minutiae that we encounter every single day. And then focus also on magnifying, multiplying gratitude. Keeping in touch with what you are grateful for, but also magnifying it and multiplying it by sharing it with others, allowing others the privilege of answering that question. In closing, let us read together. I hope you can see. Divine Beloved, help me see the face I had before I was born. Encourage me to live in my true nature. Lead me to what matters most. Then teach me to magnify and multiply it with gratitude. With your help, I remember who I am, and I live like the truth is true. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, quick prayer. We started a little late. So we're going to just do a prayer and just absolutely know that there is truly one life. That life is God's life, and that life is our life right here and right now. Just so wonderful to unify with that life and to know that all of this grace and this gratitude and this goodness is who we are. And not only us, but the entire world. Everything that looks so chaotic, everything that looks impossible, all of that is the infinite life of God expressing itself, finding a new way, sorting itself out to be greater than it has ever been before, in greater expression, in greater fullness than it has ever been expressed before. And we are the peacemakers. We are the change makers. We are those who stay open to the expression of that grace and goodness. And we do so by working on ourselves to be the change that we wish to see in the world, to be the grace, the gentleness, the tenderness towards ourselves and towards all in all things. And so I am so grateful for the transformation that I know has taken place here in this service today. So grateful for every single person that has said yes to church today, every single person that is coming forth with such an open heart and such goodwill to proceed in this beautiful, beautiful place that we call existence. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for all paths to God, churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, gurdwaras, fundamentalists, atheists, agnostics, all paths. And with a heart that is so filled with gratitude, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, love, and I release these words into the divine mystery, and together we say, and so it is. Namaste.
Well, Bonnie, I love how the service just showed up for your talk.
So about 17 years ago, maybe a little more, we did a concert in this very church, and my daughter sang this song for the first time as a teenager in front of a big audience. So I asked her to do it again this morning. I will be singing backup for her.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of my bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day.
Avaliona Bataya Man. Thank you, everybody. It's Chris Kimmler.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Let's pray. So turning within, once again, we just breathe in this divine energy, this beautiful energy that we've co-created together this morning through music, through words, through listening, through community, through interaction, through all of the million little acts that have to happen to make this service happen the way that it does, with such grace and such joy and such tenderness. And I'm so grateful for everyone that said yes to this service, so grateful for everyone who served, and so grateful for the divine love that is poured through us. May we go through these doors today and just know that love is with us always, and that we are filled with the grace of Spirit so that we can spread it around and participate in that divine reciprocity of goodness that is all around us and all through us. I give so much thanks for all of this and everything else. And with a heart filled with gratitude, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, love, and I release these words into the divine mystery. And together we say, and so it is.